I hope you're doing well. In chapter 34 of Exodus, we see that God is reestablishing his covenant with Moses and the people of Israel. In the previous section, we had seen how he had told Moses to come up onto the mountain with two new tablets. And in verse 10, it says, he said, "Behold, I am making covenant before all your people. I will do marvels, such as have not been created in all the earth or in any nation. And all the people among whom you are shall see the work of the Lord. For it is an awesome thing that I will do with you." Now think about what Israel has already witnessed just coming out of Egypt. The plagues that came upon Egypt were incredible, never seen before. They walked through the middle of this Red Sea on dry ground, and when Egypt attempted to follow, they were slaughtered. They had witnessed their first battle victory. They've seen the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire, the presence of God. And yet he comes after they had violated covenant the first time. He comes and he renews that covenant. And he's saying to him, I am going to do things that will be astonishing to all the world to see this, to see the work of the Lord that I will do with you. And I was just thinking that, the old covenant was based on, and as we go through the rest of the chapter, you see that God's going to give them regulations, and it's going to all line up with what he had previously given him in the 10 Commandments and the rules for living. They're all in perfect harmony. But he said, I want to do a great work with you. But there was a condition about their obedience. Here's what I'm going to do, but will you obey my commands? The new covenant is so powerful in that Jesus comes to fulfill all of our demands in the new covenant. God says, here's your part. And Jesus does it. And of course, God does his part. Because even when we're faithless, he's faithful. It doesn't mean we don't want to be faithful, but we remember that he wants to manifest his great power through us. Do you see it? As a child of God living in this dark world, that he has put inside you his own life, that he might express his power through you for the glory of God. So don't get in the trap of thinking that your power and the experience of God's power in you is conditioned on you, your performance. It's only conditioned on your willingness to release that power. Of course, we want to see these great manifestations, and we can get sidetracked by the gifts of the Spirit. But the greatest manifestation of God's power is not someone speaking in tongues or giving a word of prophecy or a word of knowledge or a healing, although all those would be wonderful things to experience. But then they would distract us to that experience instead of the one who is the source of the experience. And so I seek for you and I to pursue the transforming power of God in us, transforming our lives, expressing love to all of those who are around us. and forsake the idea that we need more power because we have the whole power of God in our lives. That's right now. So then he goes on, he goes, observe what I command you this day. Behold, I will drive out before you the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Who's going to do it? God's going to do it. Now, it's not passivity. They don't just stand there, but he does it through them. He organizes it. He empowers them. He says, take care lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land to which you go, lest it become a snare in your midst. You shall tear down their altars and break their pillars and cut down the Asherim, for you shall worship no other God. For the Lord, whose name is jealous, wow, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Lest you make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and when they whore after their gods and sacrifice to their gods, and you are invited, you eat of his sacrifice, and you take their daughters for your sons, and their daughters whore after their gods, and make your sons whore after their gods. You shall not make for yourself any gods of cast metal. So again, he's saying, no idolatry. And there must be a separation between you and the idolaters. Well, what does that have to do with the new covenant children? The covenant that God made with Israel was a covenant between God the Father and his selected people. They were to make no other covenant with any other people because they had only one master to serve. And it's predictive, he goes, because when you go after these idols and you make agreements with these people, you will be lured into that trap. So he says, when I go and I fight for you, tear down those altars, tear down all those places of worship, because you have but one God, one master, one Lord, one to worship. But friends, here we are, most of us who are in the West, but even in the prospering East, we have forgotten to tear down the altars and made covenant with the gods of this world. Most of us don't see metallic idols, but we forget that an idol is anything you bow down to and serve. He tells us in John to not love the world or the things of the world. He says, don't lay up treasure on this earth where moth and rust corrupts, but lay up treasures in heaven. Are there any altars apart from the Lord Jesus Christ that you bow down to and serve? Is it prosperity? Is it a name? Is it a title? Is it a reputation? What is hindering you from the full release of living out the new covenant life, the life that is empowered by his life? And crush that idol, destroy it, because you have two, just as Israel, one true master, one true Lord. And this covenant, this eternal covenant of love in him, to experience his power expressed through us, is our great privilege. If there is love for money, if there is love for things, if there is love for acceptance, if there is love for fame, those are altars that must be broken down so that our worship is reserved for our one true love, our one true Lord, God himself and his son, Jesus Christ. Think about it. Is there anything hindering the full expression of his life through you? Let's get rid of it. Have a great day.